you for joining.
Hey, Bert. Glad to be
Nice
here.
to meet you, in person.
As personal as it can be.
That's right. Okay, so it is 7:01. This is the regular monthly meeting of the Southwick Agricultural Commission. We are recording, and we'll be having roll call votes on any votes that are needed. And so far, we have myself, Conservation Coordinator Dennis Clark, Commissioners Dan Cook and Ron Cicchini, Co-Chair Marissa Cook-Obregon, and special guest, Ron Hall from the MDAR. And hopefully a couple of other commissioners will be joining.
Are you done?
But anyway.
Don't forget about our secretary.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jean. I'm sorry. Secretary Jean Nilsson is here.
It's okay.
Wouldn't have minutes without her.
That's right. That's right. I don't know, maybe Dan and Ron, getting some background noise. I think it's from you. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're making a racket. I'm gonna have to mute them if they don't stop it.
There we go. What's going on here?
Now he's giving us finger side. He muted himself.
Oh, okay. Okay. So Ron is going to give us a kind of an overview of the APR tracking process, I believe, and then we can talk about our own policy that's still pending. So that said, Ron, I think it's you're on.
Okay, thanks, Bert. So I'm not sure if folks want me to give any background about the APR program or just kind of go to the history of the match component that the program has been involved with. If it makes sense, if everybody's familiar with the program, I'll cut to the chase and go to the overview of the match. That makes sense?
I think we're fairly familiar with it. Is
Okay.
that the consensus?
I think it'd be good to hear about it just because a lot of us are new members, so we're familiar with APR just from the meetings, but I don't think many of us have been around for an actual APR or anything like that. So if you don't mind giving us a brief overview and history to just set the context a little bit, please.
Sure. So the APR program, the primary purpose of the program has been to preserve and protect agricultural lands, including its soils as a finite natural resource. And basically the restriction is looking to prevent that agricultural lands from being built upon other than for its agricultural uses, and to prevent any activities that might be detrimental to agriculture. The program has been around for 40 plus years. It came out of a food production and ag subcommittee study done in 1976, which basically had identified that the preservation of agricultural land in the Commonwealth is a matter of urgent concern. And it was reflected on that the increased operating costs and rising land values had made it virtually impossible for young people or newcomers to enter the farming business. Sounds very familiar as today.
Yeah.
So legislation was passed in 1977 through Chapter 70 of the Massachusetts General Laws. And it basically defined an APR as a right to retain land predominantly for its agricultural and farming and forest uses, to forbid and limit all construction or placement of buildings except for those used in agricultural purposes on the land. It also looked to prevent the excavation and dredging of the resource and the removal of that resource. And once again, any acts that would deem to be detrimental for those agricultural purposes. We do have a process in which we have APRs come into the program. It is a volunteer application process with landowners. They present an application to us. It goes through an evaluation process. And then we bring our proposals to an overseeing board that is called the Agricultural Lands Preservation Committee, or some folks may know it as the ALPC. This committee is made up of various representatives of state agencies, also appointees from the governor's office, of which 4 farm or appointees are on the board. We also have currently, with recent changes to the legislation, a farm advocacy organization and a land trust member on the board. Also representative from USDA is the Natural Resource Conservation Services state conservationist, who is there more as a input and advisory role. They don't have a voting role. So the process, just real quick, volunteer applications come in from landowner staff review. Predominantly, the projects we're looking at have to meet a soil requirement of 50% of prime and state soils. It is the combination of these types of soil characteristics that allow for a variety of types of agricultural uses. We take those projects that we evaluate and before our ALPC for what is called a vote of interest. The vote of interest is the board's ability to review the projects, give us their authorization to move forward with the next phase of due diligence, which is the appraisal process. Once we have an appraisal, we meet with landowners, go over with the appraisal, and make the offer. And once we've figured out the offer with the landowner, this is when we engage other parties on how that offer can come together.
Excuse me, Ron, 1 second. So the offer means money, right?
The offer is basically a commitment to us with the landowner saying, based on the appraisal, here's the values that have been determined. We have a set of requirements on how much we can apply towards the purchase price, and then we go over what that frameworks is and what would make up the potential components to pay that restriction, which can involve a local component. And I'll get that to sort of the background when we do the local match history. So
Okay.
I'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
So if the landowner accepts the offer, we then have to go once again before our Agricultural Lands Preservation Committee to get authorization to move forward with the remaining due diligence and look to put the project on a spending plan for acquiring an APR. And those remaining due diligences can involve title, survey, and also follow up on any of the appraisal values, depending on how we do that. One of our key partners in our funding is USDA's Natural Resource Conservation Service. They do have their own series of requirements and evaluations and process that must be done. So it has added sort of a rigorous process to get it through both a state and federal program. But we do look to try to integrate their standards with ours to try to move a project along quickly. So in the end, the result of all this due diligence and review by the 2 state agencies will probably end up with a closing of an APR with the landowner. Once an APR is in the program, we do have a stewardship component, which sort of circles back to sort of the tracking system we'll get to in a moment. And the stewardship program has been evolving over the past years. This involves us going out and monitoring the properties. It also involves what is called department approvals, in which a landowner can come to the department and ask for approval to build an ag-related structure or improvement on their property. Also, it can involve what is a term limit, special permit for non-agricultural activity or event on the property. Another aspect with that approval process, and this is something that the department is beginning to develop more and more, is that in some of the documents it describes that co-holders or co-grantees of the restrictions also have a role in sort of giving their acceptance of the department's approval. So part of the tracking system will be for purposes of us, if the department comes to the town of Southwick seeking their acceptance of an approval that the landowner has come for an ag-related structure, such as a barn for hay storage. Basically, what we would do is provide the background where the APR is and ask that if the town agrees that they do not find that the structure is going to defeat or derogate from the intent of the restriction. So I think I'd like to shift over to sort of the history of the match component.
Yep. I just want to break in for 2 quick comments, Ron.
Mhm.
First of all, I love it that you say that soil is a finite natural resource.
Mhm.
I think that's important. And also, you know, at the beginning I said, oh yeah, we're pretty familiar. And now you've talked about this and I'm realizing I have pretty much no idea about this whole process.
Well, I'm giving you a very abbreviated version of the process. At the end, I'll kind of direct folks to some resources we have online. We recently had come out with an APR guidance document that does lay out sort of the whole process of a project coming in, going through the application review process, and then what the stewardship components could be. So it's a great summary of what I'm giving very briefly right now.
Mhm. That sounds good.
So sort of the history of the match, MDR had, when I say MDAR, that's the department, has had a traditional requirement of what is a 20% financial match that can be achieved through a combination of municipal contribution, a non-profit contribution like a land trust or a landowner bargain sale. And that local match can come in the form of reducing the costs associated with the acquisition of that restriction. It's intended to save the Commonwealth cost towards acquiring the agricultural preservation restriction, and also to allow for the use of the limited funds we have to try to maintain the ability to acquire those lands that we currently have in our queue. The program also had offered what is a match reduction that could be up to 15% of that 20% for those communities that demonstrated a commitment with local principles that would lead to stronger ag economies. And those 3 principles came out of sort of a smart growth initiative back many years ago under the Romney administration. It has continued to carry forward since it had, 1, help establish the ag commissions that you folks are part of as the initiative to get that started. Also the enacting of right to farm bylaws, that's the 2nd principle that fell within this frameworks. And then the 3rd is implementing a tracking system that would prevent the issue of permits that would authorize construction of unauthorized structures on protected farmland. So each one of these principles carries a potential discount of 5% from the 20% overall. So there will always be a local match component determined at 5%. It's important to understand that the implementation of the principles have helped resolve these potential farm-related problems. So the tracking system is a valued tool to ensure the agricultural building permit applications are reviewed and will not impact the APR land. It also, as I mentioned earlier, provides an opportunity for the towns as co-holders and co-grantees to look back in their own archives of information if the department comes to seek their endorsement of a particular approval for an ag structure or a special permit for a non-ag activity. Not every APR document is the same, so not every APR will require us to come to the to town on those approvals. It's only those restrictions in which the restriction document speaks to that. Probably a critical thing to note is that MDR has reviewed and finds this policy as something that it reviews on a regular basis. It's important to understand that the discount may not apply when a project's value exceeds a certain dollar amount. We do have projects that come in at a dollar amount that exceeds what is called our spending cap. The program has what is a $10,000 per acre spending cap. And in those instances where the value exceeds the $10,000 per cap, financial arrangements of either the local municipal or nonprofit or landowner has to take on the greater role of making up that difference if it's an important resource to protect. So,
just one, sorry, Ron, just 1 second. Marissa, did you have a question? No? Oh, I thought I saw your hand up.
okay. So I did mention that the policies reviewed on a regular basis, but any changes to the local match is subject to review with our Agricultural Lands Preservation Committee. So at this point, I'd like to either turn it over to questions or we can kind of discuss the current policy the town of Southwick is considering for its tracking system.
That's all that information is very helpful, Ron. I appreciate it. I don't think I have additional questions right now. Does anyone else have something?
I just my only question, Bert, is that now that we've adopted the tracking program, how does that get monumented? Do we get a letter from the state saying that the town of Southwick does now qualify for the lesser percentage?
I have spoken with our director. Yes, you will get a letter that basically says we have reviewed the policy and that it's meeting the expectations of implementing the principle of the tracking system, and that it will be considered as part of our review of the discount on the financial match.
That would be, it'd be nice to have something to give to the select board to show them that we've actually followed through with this.
Okay.
So we just wait for that from the state, right?
Correct. It's something that will most likely come from our director of the Division of Technical Conservation and Technical Assistance, that is Gerald Kennedy. As it is, again, the idea is that these are sort of tools we've recommended to towns to implement to help advance those ag economies, but basically the frameworks of those policies is the town's authority to make sure it works in the manner they're comfortable with.
Okay.
How does the future of the program look? Are we in good shape as far as future monies coming into this program? I know for a while it was a little touch and go there.
Well, I mentioned earlier that another partner in our funding mechanism is USDA, Natural Resource Conservation Services. The recent Farm Bill has indicated that additional funds are going to be available, but obviously it's done on an annual obligation aspect. With the current environment with COVID-19, you're always wondering, will it have an effect on what that obligation level will be?
Right.
But it has been fairly stable in the past. Probably the only challenge we've have received in working with the federal program is obviously when you have two government agencies overseeing a program, it does take a lot of paperwork and time and review.
So a lot of people come to or some people come to the Agricultural Commission saying that, you guys should actively go out there and search out farmers that would like to put their properties in APR. Have you dealt with agricultural commissions that do that, reach out to the farmers? And
yes, we have, and I think part of the issue there, Dennis, is we're also looking at new avenues of trying to bring in other funding sources. So ag commissions, other boards other nonprofit organizations. We want to begin to work with them and partnering up and seeing if there are other funding mechanisms that, one, might help us to protect certain projects that may not qualify under both the state and federal programs. We have experienced that in the past, that a particular application has come in and qualified for the state, but is not eligible to move forward with the federal program. And in those situations, if we can't find the substitute funding from the federal program, the project may not continue. So working with ad commissions, determining types of projects that are quality types of projects that would, one, fit for the state program and federal program, or even if there's other funding mechanisms available to us to advance those projects that might only fit the state program, are things we hope to continue to develop in. I know there is a commitment so far to bring on some additional staff as it relates from our stewardship side of things, of working with lands that are protected. So this activity of approvals on restrictions, you'll begin to may have a little bit more engagement with our staff. I think in the town of Southwick, there's 16 protected properties, APR properties. But also we do look to continue to enhance the acquisition side, and I'm looking to potentially bring on an additional acquisition planner.
I'm sure the commissioners would like to, get involved in any way they can to help out with that process.
We would appreciate that. That's always a welcome help.
Marissa's been working with this is the Kestrel Land Trust, I believe.
Correct.
To
Yeah, that's true.
get some signage for the properties that have been preserved with APR.
Yep.
Is that something you're referring to, working with land trusts? And
We've from those types of support resources, yes. We've also have land trusts that have stepped in and finance certain due diligence, like appraisals or surveys, that have helped to advance the timeliness of getting a project done. Also, we've worked with land trusts that have gone and found those funds that we weren't able to secure with the federal program, so that we could move forward with a project that wasn't necessarily eligible with those requirements. So land trusts have played many roles in protecting not just agricultural lands, but other conservation lands. And also they've been a good advocate for another program in our executive office, and that's the Massachusetts Conservation Land Tax Credit, which is a funding mechanism in which landowners that do donate their restrictions or provide bargain sales may be able to get an additional tax credit through the state.
I think we had Pete Westover was a speaker at one of our meetings, and I think he touched on that, and he's the one that told us about the tracking program. So, we get him back to another meeting too, to see if we can work with them. It seems like they're a valuable resource.
Yes.
Right.
Any other questions?
Yes, I was wondering if I could email you after this meeting with a question about verifying the list of APR people that we currently do have in Southwick. We just want to make sure that list is up to date, and I think it is, but I'm not sure if that's something that you or someone in your office could help us verify.
Yeah, I think the thing is, kind of tell us what information you want. We have a very general list that we can send out, which is typically just sort of the name of the farm when it was protected, what communities and what acreage it is, and what when it was closed. But if you're looking for additional information, such as the location and so forth, it's something that we have to sort of take through our public records process, but it should be available.
Actually, just even knowing the names of the properties, the acreage, and knowing the date would be fine, just kind of for our references. I'm asking specifically in this instance because Dennis had mentioned I'm trying to work out with Kestrel getting free signs that state that this is preserved land, preserved farmland. So I just want to make sure that the people I'm reaching out to are indeed APR farmers. before I
Okay.
offer them the free signage. So really it's just for that purpose. But it also would be good for our commission, seeing that we have a lot of new members, to kind of know what's already APR'd and possibly then inversely know what's not APR'd, so that we might set our goals towards maybe working with the non-APR'd farms in town.
So yes, I would ask you to send that email and to ask for the current names of the APR owners, because I know there are APRs in the town of Southwick that have transferred. So the list that I mentioned earlier would have been under the names of the original parties that placed the restrictions. And 40 years later, we've got some restrictions that have transferred a couple times. So the name won't be associated with the current owner. Also, if you like, I think we could provide you a map of where those properties are protected. As a matter of fact, I had tried to check in with one of our GIS folks, and he had produced a map, but then recognized that for some reason our Mass open space didn't have one of the APRs shown, so we're holding off on that.
Oh, yeah, that sounds actually really good when it does get finalized.
Yeah.
We can send you the maps along with the, there's a lot of them have been sold, and you'll have to cross-reference. A lot of the properties are different names now. We can send you the maps that are in the open space plan.
Yep.
Marissa, the commission also has a warrant article coming up on our meeting Tuesday night, our open air meeting, town meeting for right to farm signs that we're going to put up on, we plan on putting up on the roads, on the local roads at Southwick.
That's
To
great.
let the people know that we're right to farm community. I don't suppose we get any extra credits for that though, huh?
Well, you did. You
Yeah.
did, but not the signs. You already put the policy into effect.
That's not extra for the signs.
Unfortunately not, Dennis.
I don't want to get greedy now.
Yeah. So I just like to kind of leave it with the folks that understand each project is something that we would like to continue to evolve and develop with communities, because we are beginning to find that our cap at $10,000 an acre is coming very close to a lot of our projects. And so there are going to be times in which we either have to seek other funding mechanisms to make up that difference, and towns and nonprofits have been helpful in that arena. And there is a policy for us to look to go over the cap, but each project has got to meet a certain criteria to go over the cap, and that's usually the quality of the resource being substantial, that it's if it's not abutting, it's in very close proximity of other protected land. And then the things that you have just done with the principles of implementing supporting commissions and right to farm bylaws and tracking systems.
Mhm.
So maybe I gave you more than you wanted to hear, Bert.
I've got like 3 pages of notes here. And Jean, I hope you got it all, because I'm going to need to refer to your notes.
I was just going to let you be the secretary next time if you got that many notes. I only got 2 pages.
I'm going to unmute Dan Cook here. Dan, you're muted. There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Can hear you now.
Okay. Ron, what's the limit on the acres?
For coming in as an application, the minimum acreage is under Mass General Law, Chapter 61A, and that's 5 acres.
Okay.
And we look at it as 5 open productive acres. Part of the reasoning for that is that when a restriction's put on the land, we want to be assured that it's going to be viable and sustainable in perpetuity. And smaller acreage, even though they're becoming more productive, sometimes aren't as desirable. And plus our statute requires us to go with the 5 acres.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have to mute you again, Dan.
Yeah. So, Tammy, do you have a question? I saw your box kind of lit up there.
Oh, nope.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I think we're good for now.
Okay.
Everyone.
So you got my email. Send me your
Yep.
questions.
Yep.
I will if I don't have the answers, I'll try to find the person that can give you the answers.
Awesome. We so appreciate your coming, Ron. This is a very important topic to us. So we so appreciate all this information. If you have an hour that you don't know what to do with, you can stay on the meeting.
Well, I appreciate the offer, Bert, but I will say my day's been long and I will take leave.
Okay, that's what I thought you'd say.
Well, it was nice meeting you.
Thank you
Dan,
so much,
Dan
Ron.
wants to say something else. I gotta,
Informative.
Okay. Have a great night. Thank you so much.
So much.
Alrighty.
Dan wants to say something. I can't unmute him.
Oh,
You got
Just
something to
saying
say, Dan?
goodbye, Ron.
Alrighty. Thank you. Okay. Take care, Dan.
Ron.
Bye-bye, Dennis. See
okay,
you.
good night.
Good night.
Bert, I think we missed part of the agenda on the, call the meeting order, announce the commission and the date and the people at the meeting. Did we do that at the beginning?
I think we did, yeah.
Okay.
Tammy was a couple minutes late, so we should mention that Commissioner Tammy Sayak-Salon is on. And I'm seeing,
Tammy was late. We're going to put that in the record. Okay.
yeah,
No, we're not, Tammy.
it's on your
Ignore
permanent
him.
record. And I'm seeing, is there somebody on an iPhone? I can't see who it is, but I see iPhone.
Who's on the iPhone? Hello? They're muted. I don't see anybody.
Okay, well, a mystery guest. Okay, well, that was awesome. Boy, I'm glad he was
Really
able to
good.
come.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe how complex. I knew the process was pretty complex, but it's
yeah.
more complex than I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so communications, Gene, anything we should know about in the mailbox or?
Well,
Any
I'm
other source?
hoping you guys read the minutes from the last meeting.
Yep.
You want to do that?
Yeah, that's next. Yep.
But there was something in the mailbox, Bert. And Gene scanned it, and I've got it if you want to share it on the screen.
Oh,
This was in the mail.
okay.
Okay, if we know about Chapter 61, 61A, 61B lands, that the town has a right of first refusal when they decide to convert the land from farmland. And we did get a notice. The Conservation Commission got a notice. And this particular piece of land is on the end of Moore Vining Road going to Connecticut.
Oh,
This actually happens to be one of the pieces of land on the Agricultural Commission's wish list to
Yeah.
preserve.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
I know where that is. Looks like they're getting ready to develop it, right?
Yeah, those frontage
Yeah.
lots here, and then they're going to want to put a subdivision back here.
Wow.
Yuck.
There's already too much traffic on this road.
And it's a beautiful piece of property.
Fort Vining,
Really is. It's special there.
that's where Bert lives.
Well, is there anything we can do about it at this point? They're already working there, doing perk tests and stuff.
Good, you could send off you'd have to do it quick though, because these guys are ready to close on it. They always do it at the last minute. You could tell the select board that you have interest in this property. We have interest in this property, and not to sign off on it. They don't have to listen to us, and there is not a system in place as we ask them to put in place for this type of process. But if you want to do it, and you can do it quick enough, you get a letter off to the select board saying that the Agricultural Commission would like a little bit of time. I mean, I don't know. The other part of it is the land. You can get a land trust involved. If a land trust would want to purchase the property, we could use our right of first refusal through the land trust. But this is even more of a complicated process in the APR in a way.
Yeah.
It's up to the commissioners to decide what they
Yep. I mean, it seems like clearly an uphill battle.
Yes.
But if you email that letter to me, I'll take a shot at sending a letter to the select board.
Sure, Gene, you'll send that to Bert, send this letter to Bert. We already got the scan, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll send it to you in the morning, Bert, okay?
Okay, yep, thank you, yep. And this letter from them is only dated June 8th. That's only 2 days ago, so.
Yeah, yeah. But it looks like they forgot because it says at the beginning, please find notice of intent to convert purchase. Please respond as soon as practical. I mean, the town has quite a bit of time to respond if they want to exercise it. Then there's another letter in here that said, oh, they left the plan out of the original one. Okay.
Okay,
So yeah, Gene will send that to you. And if you want to shoot something off to the select board and
sure. And Marissa, do you have a contact at Kestrel? Maybe we should copy them too.
I was going to say, I think it is worth trying to at least talk
Yeah.
to somebody in the land trust, even if it is very much an uphill
Yeah.
battle. I think, if anything, it can be a learning process for us.
yeah.
You know, kind of how to respond to things like this, because
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
I
that's,
can think of, yeah, I can shoot over the names of a couple people that I've been talking to at Kestrel that seem helpful, or at least they reply to emails promptly. So
well, there you go.
Marissa, I'll email you the documents as well. I'll CC you and Bert, okay?
thank you, Jean.
Yeah. Thank you, yep. Because
We
I
always-
believe that's something like 80 or 82 acres. I mean, it's a big piece
A
of
lot.
property.
Yeah, it's they got the acreage listed here. I mean, we have always known it's a long shot, but they asked us, the select board specifically asked the commission to make a wish list of the properties they would like to see preserved. And this was definitely a top of the, it says 31.95 acres.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I thought it was bigger.
Well, that must be just the front portion of the property,
Oh, maybe.
not the entirety of it, because
Yeah.
that's much more than that.
Yeah.
So they just want to cut off a portion for now because they didn't want to do this in one fell swoop because they didn't want to pay taxes on building lots. They want to do it one lot at a time so they don't have to pay the taxes for all those building lots at one time.
Well, boo-hoo for them.
It makes it
Okay.
more difficult for the town.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Well, good to know that. We'll see what happens. You know.
That's the only mail, right, Gene? That was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the minutes, Dennis?
Yeah,
We
actually,
haven't gotten to the minutes. We haven't gotten to the minutes yet.
No, we
Minutes are-
haven't.
minutes are next.
Yes, okay.
And just one sec. Okay. So, yeah, we have minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look them over, hopefully?
Yes.
I didn't see any, I don't have any corrections myself. I did know that there was a comma, I think, missing on one page, but, you know, I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
At least Gene spelled your name. At least Gene spelled your name right most of the
Yeah.
time.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that was good.
I saw under community garden, it says perennial plants. I'm not sure if we meant plants or if we actually meant like plants that are.
Oh.
perennial.
Yeah, that's true. That is plants. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. You're right.
We are always making plans. That's true.
Yeah, it'd be true. Yeah, if it's, it's flexible.
Okay, I'll correct that to plants, okay?
Yes. Okay. Well, I guess I could make a motion that we approve the minutes with one change on page 2.
Second.
Tammy seconds. Okay. Let's see. All in favor. We gotta have a roll call. So I'll say this is Bert. I'm in favor. Yes. Marissa.
I'm in favor.
Tammy.
I'm in favor.
Dan.
Aye.
Okay. Ron.
Aye.
And Dennis.
Aye.
Okay. And thank you, Gene. This is
Well-
a big help.
Well, just hope that the budget gets approved for the AgCom at the town meeting next Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, well, we're gonna have the budget in a couple of bullet points here, so I have a question about that, but we'll get to that then.
Okay.
Old business, anything on the APR signs, anything further?
I started to talk to the people on the list of APR farms that I know personally to ask if they're interested in getting one of these free signs from Kestrel. So that's part of why I wanted the updated list to make sure that I
Right.
had a correct list. So
Yeah.
yeah, still working on getting a head count, but I did speak to someone at Kestrel last week. Was it last week or maybe the beginning of this week? But they still do have some signs, and they actually would be willing to bring them down to Southwick because somebody is coming to Southwick next month from Kestrel. I don't know why, but they offered to transport those signs. So that's why I'm trying to get an accurate head count on how many people actually want the
Yeah.
sign, so that we can not only take what we need since they're free, and yeah, see how we
Yeah.
go from there.
They're, I'm getting a little chuckle out of this. So they're coming to Southwick. How far away are they?
I think we're
Cameras, they don't come over this direction very often. They do have a conservation restriction on the Risings Corner property, so they're probably going to come out and check on it. But they don't like coming over on this side of the river. They don't like this area. I'm getting that feeling anyway.
Well, we'll have to butter them up or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. Thank you, Marissa. Yeah, so the budget, I was looking, I'm not sure how many people were on this email, but Dennis at least, I was looking at the Finance Committee report that's on the town website, and I didn't see anything specific about the AgCom in the budget stuff. Now, I might have missed something, or maybe it's kind of hidden there somewhere, but
Should be right in there. It should be in the.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Should be.
Yeah, so we'll see. And while we're on that, I mean, we mentioned it already, and it's on the agenda too, that the town meeting, there is, the right to farm signs is on there to approve the $2,500. So hopefully that will go through.
Who wants to do the speaking at the town meeting? Who's going to represent that article?
Well,
Bert?
I guess so. I guess that'll be maybe Marissa and me, or maybe just me.
Yeah, make it. That would be great if you can make the
Yeah.
meeting. Great.
All right. Yeah, I will be there. So yeah. Okay, great. I'll have to wear a clean shirt and, be ready to play.
It's outside. It's informal.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's see. Okay, the farm brochure, any?
Sorry, yeah,
No, I
yeah,
get
Brett
it.
and I
No,
haven't made a lot of progress on that yet, so.
Yeah. no apologies needed. I'm just keeping it on the agenda, so we kind of like,
Yeah.
keep it in mind,
I had something I wanted to say about that.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, I learned about a new or newer farm business. It's at 9 Bab Road. It's, I was looking at it earlier. I can't remember the name of it, but they have like a traveling petting zoo, and they do goat's milk soap, and they have goat yoga classes. I don't know if they might be interested, if that would qualify for their brochure.
Yeah.
Sounds like, sure.
Well done.
Yeah, somebody needs to talk to them, get them involved.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Great.
What about
So-
Billy's Bees? I see on television, on the commercial, they say Billy's Bees from Southwick.
Yeah,
Yeah, bees. Yeah.
Billy
thought that was
Crawford. I
already
think it's, sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought that Brett had already reached out to them, but I'm
We
not
did?
sure.
I
Okay.
think so. I think it's Billy C, actually, Billy Crawford.
Yeah,
Ah,
Billy Bees.
he's got like 1,000 hives or something like that. It's unbelievable.
Where's that located, Bert?
You know, I don't know.
It's the old auction place just before you get to our road, Dennis. It's that blue house.
Oh, used to be Jacques or
The
Jake or whatever.
Jacques
Really?
walking
Yeah.
here.
Really? Oh,
Oh,
I didn't know
Go
that.
by it every day, Dennis.
I never
It's
seen
right
any
on the-
beehives out there.
Look in the back. You can see the hives near the brook.
Oh, nice, nice.
I had no idea where he was. That's
By there
interesting.
every day.
Yeah, same here. Okay. Well, similarly with the brochure, I haven't really done anything with the census of farms, but now that we've talked with Ron Hall, I'm getting a little bit charged up to actually tackle that in a real way. So we'll see. I know, Dennis, you gave me the copy of the maps and you emailed the information, so we get going on that. Community garden, things are booming over there. All kinds of activity. There's 27 plots and there's only 3 that are not rented.
Wow.
And people are doing some really interesting stuff with, twigs to grow peas on, and a lot of people growing potatoes, including Tammy. Well, it's just great. It's just, there's a lot of activity over there. It's the best year so far. Only one person that I know of hasn't shown up yet, a guy named Andy Leet, and he has 2 plots, which he has done for a couple of years or maybe even 3 years. But so far he hasn't shown up, so I don't know what's going on with him. But other than that, it's
You hear about the turtle that's been eating Al Ranjo's?
I did hear about that. Yeah, so funny. Last year, Lee Hazelton, one of the gardeners, found a turtle nest, like in her plot.
Oh, no.
She kind of, barricaded it and said, "Okay, don't touch the turtles."
Wow.
And so apparently we have turtles now who think they live there.
Oh, no.
And unfortunately, they're digging up some of the plants.
No.
So Al Ranjo picked up at least one turtle and sort of relocated it outside the fence. I'm not sure if that's going to help or not, but yeah.
I had a meeting with the Mass DOT this week, and we were looking at some places for plantings. And he said he's got a bag of high quality pollinator mix if we still want it. I don't know if it's too late in the season to plant it, or
Oh,
are we interested in that?
I think so. Sure.
So-
Do you know what kinds of? I'm assuming this is flowers, right? Or
Yeah, that's sure. It says a high grade pollinator mix, whatever that means.
yeah. Well, I'd say let's take it and we do a little research, and maybe if it's not good this year, we can use it next year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Dennis, how does DOT end up with pollinator mix? Do they plant that like on the sides of highways, or? How does that-
We went to a site visit on Congamon Road where there was a replication area, and the Conservation Commission needed to sign off on it as a certificate of compliance, and the replication area hadn't been done as we would like to have seen it. So the guy from the DOT said, I got some blueberry bushes if you want to plant those out here. And the homeowner said, yeah, I'd love to put blueberry bushes. He's got a beautiful yard. And we started to go on the conversation. He said, I got some pollinator mix too if you want to use it. So I asked him, I said, if you have any extra, I think I could find a home for it. So if you want, I'll put you in touch with this guy. He's very,
Sure.
very resourceful, and he deals with the Conservation Commission for quite a few years.
Hmm.
And maybe he's got more plants. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'll CC you on the email when I send it to
Okay.
him.
Yeah. Great. And again, kind of thinking down the road. Okay, if we start talking to him now, who knows? Next year.
Yeah. Good idea.
That might work.
Put that on the list of things to do.
Exactly. And then we were talking a little bit about the community garden before everyone joined and before we called the meeting to order about, the fence posts. As we know, several of the fence posts have rotted. I've kind of very temporarily propped them up. Dennis was giving me a hard time because I was using nails. And he said, "Don't you have a screw gun? Come on." Anyway, and so we thought about replacing some of the fence posts, but then Dennis talked to Vinny Avendanza, who was involved with the original fence, and he said, "Well, why don't you just get some metal, rebar or some kind of metal thing to just reinforce the existing posts rather than try to replace them." So I think that'll be much easier for one thing and probably cheaper as well. So I think we'll go that route, and maybe in the next week or so, have a little work team and see who we can get to come over. Anybody who has sledgehammers, can pound in the metal poles and get the fence propped up. But we do need to rebuild the gates too.
Yeah, the gates need some work.
The gates are a little sad. But otherwise, as I mentioned, things are going really well. The well is working fine. People are getting to know each other over there. We're kind of putting the community in the community garden.
Wonderful.
So it's good.
Oh, wow.
And those hay bales that you got from Western Mass Electric or whoever, the Eversource,
Yeah.
they come in real handy.
Yeah, they got used up pretty fast. That's
Next
good.
year we should get some of our own if we can't get
Yeah.
donations. See if we can get a local farmer to get some.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that'd be good. That's another. Yeah, good point. Let's see. New business. I think Marissa has some. I'm not sure if it's updates, but wanted to bring up the Lake Management Committee and the weed treatment of the lakes.
Yeah, this is something I wanted to kind of just bring up as a point of discussion and get everyone's thoughts on it, honestly. So just a little background in case you forgot or didn't keep up with all the emails. So a couple of weeks ago, we got an email letting us know that the lake treatment was going to happen on such a date. I believe it was June 1st. And the email was basically to make sure that we let any farmers know who are using the lake for irrigation, just to give them a heads up in terms of the treatment, that they couldn't use it for irrigation until a certain date. So first of all, it wasn't a lot of notice. And then I didn't know personally that we had farmers in Southwick using the irrigation. So it's been a learning experience for me. It's been educational.
Yeah.
And it also was a chance to kind of know who were the farmers that were that do use it. Now, as I understand it, not all of them that do use it do it annually. Dwight Arnold, for instance, kind of alternates depending on whether he's using fields that are closer to the farms, to the lakes or not. And this year, he didn't happen to have anything growing near those fields, so he wasn't affected by it. But John Coward does have some tobacco that's growing and depends on lake water. So he was really upset at not being given much notice, but also at not really feeling like he was consulted at all, and felt that he was kind of an afterthought along with, the farming community. So I totally understand that, and I know that I felt a little surprised by the short timing. When I asked about the details of this treatment, the Grinnell's
Sorry.
Yeah, this is pretty late in the year to be doing it. It shouldn't be done in June. It should be done in May, at the latest end of May. We have to keep on top of these chemical treatment because they go out, whoever is the squeakiest wheel gets treated first. So the water temperature, I'm sure, was warm enough to do it before June, but we just weren't. Lake Management Committee, we need to get together with them and make sure that they keep the pressure. And the treatment doesn't work as well. If it's the later you wait, the worse the treatment is, the less success rate it has. You have to nip it in the bud, as they say. So
Right.
I think that's something next year, make sure that we keep an eye on the date of that and, make sure it happens early, because the farmers by June, that they really needed to, they would have irrigated. They had to sacrifice this year.
Exactly. It's been a really dry year. The fact that it's being done later, I mean, John Coward said, this is usually done in May. You're doing it in June.
Yeah.
Like, how
Yeah.
could you not give me any notice? And rightfully so. Like, I get it from his perspective. And he wasn't against the treatment. He was just pissed off that he wasn't really consulted. Now, what I wanted to verify, have farmers been consulted in the past about this? Because Dick Ronells was explaining in the email that timing is really, really critical. You have to have all these factors just right with the lake in order to do the treatment. And once you know that everything's good, you got to do the treatment in 2-3 days, which I get. But
Yeah,
are
no, it
farmers
doesn't-
typically involved in that? I don't know what happened in the past.
Really doesn't work like that. I've been ever since they've been doing the treatments, I've been calling the farmers up and letting them know. But I would recommend writing a nice letter to the Lake Management Committee of the town or whoever, Conservation Commission, write a nice letter saying that we would like to know next year. We'd like to have the treatment done early in the year, and we'd like to have advance notice, because they know when they're going to go out. They know several weeks in advance before they're going to go out there. It's not from one day to the next. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Because they have to come up with funding. They have to have, there's a big process. We
Right.
need to put something in writing, please notify us as soon as you find out, and, please do it early as possible in the year.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good, because I was asking Dick Ronells if anybody from LMC would like to come and kind of explain this to us, because I didn't know if there were other treatments done at other points in the year. Just to kind of confer with them, because if we're having this intersection, I think it's just good to meet with that committee or commission and just kind of let them know that, these are our concerns. We're kind of representing farmers, and just to kind of keep them in the loop and have accountability with each other. That way we also know, like you're saying, Dennis, kind of the timing, like we should be informed when they're just thinking about this, so that we can give farmers a little bit of heads up, even if it's something. It's better than nothing.
Don't forget the Conservation Commission is a part of this process. They have a permit through a bunch of places, but through the Conservation Commission to do this treatment.
Right.
And the commission could actually write it into the order of conditions if they wanted to, but it'd be nice just to put a nice friendly letter together, give them a heads up that this is what we need to have in the future,
Right.
if they want to continue to do the treatments.
Right, and that was a question that both Dwight and John had. Just kind of, I mean, Dwight wasn't worried about it this year, but he was kind of worried that if in the future, and John had this, if in the future crops were to die because of this, because of whatever chemical and the interaction, what happens then? Is that something that he would bring up via an ag committee meeting, or does he go directly to LMC? What happens in that instance?
I'd probably be more like a lawsuit, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure if there was a formal process, because they were well, John was saying, well, Mike, what if, what is this chemical? What does it do exactly? What does it kill? Does this is it contraindicated rather with tobacco plants? And I was like, I have no idea. So,
yeah, to safeguard our town and ourselves, we really need to do this properly to give the farmers the notice that they need, and try to ensure that it happens early in the year as possible.
okay, no, that makes sense. I agree with that too. And do you think it's a good idea to have someone from LMC come and talk to us at our next meeting, just briefly, to at least get to know us so that there's a rapport? Or do you think it's better to send a letter?
It's always good to have, we can do the letter and then invite them to the meeting. It's always good to have another committee to come and discuss what they're, how it works. Dick would probably come to the meeting to explain it in great detail.
When I suggested the idea to Dick, he said that he felt that he was too busy to commit to anything like that. So
Right. Get the letter out if they want to come, and that's up to them.
He suggested maybe Eric. Is Eric the co-chair of LMC or?
Eric is the scientist. He's the guy that he works in some kind of place where he's actually a doctor, some kind of
Oh,
He does all the charts and graphs, and he knows all the details. So he'd be a very interesting speaker to have. Yeah. He was the guy that spoke at the
Right.
town meetings that they did the last town meeting we had to get the money for the alum treatment, which was a different treatment. And
oh,
he spoke at that town meeting.
I'd say, let's just tell Dick to, put this on put the AgCom on his calendar for next March. And no, I don't mean to be facetious. This is all very good, outreach. Marissa, are you okay writing the letter?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
fine. I mean, I already have been talking to Dick. I mean, we're still kind of going back and forth on emails,
Yeah.
so that would be great. Yeah, I can do that.
Excellent.
Very good. Well, this is really, I just want to give all of us a kind of a pat on the back and an attaboy or attagirl and say, this is all this outreach that's going on. If we're advocating for farming and farmers, that's what it's all about. It's all about reaching out and finding resources and knowing who to talk to and all that sort of thing. So this is some good work going on here, I think. So thank you all.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Too.
You
Okay.
looking for a
What'd you say, Dennis?
You looking for a motion?
I'm about to, yeah. Unless anybody has any other comments, questions, suggestions, whatever.
I just wanted to mention, I'm apologize for missing last month, but obviously the seed library is sort of on the back burner, but Lynn Blair, the library director, just kind of summarized what her thoughts were right now at this point. Just as
Yep.
people are planting and as things come in, if some farmers or gardeners, I could even maybe put a flyer at the community garden, or we could put something else out just to start thinking about saving seeds to give, to donate so she can put something together in the fall for next season, next year.
Excellent.
And it can be anything that you want, it doesn't have to be an heirloom variety. It could just be basic, but anything that people want to start saving for seeds to be able to donate for other people to use next season.
Yeah, that's great. And I apologize, Tammy. I know you sent an email around about that, and you talked about it last time, and I did not put it on the agenda, so we'll put it on
No,
there.
that's okay.
That's a great thing. And who knows if there can be.
You gotta unmute yourself. Dan, you got to unmute yourself. Can't hear you.
Oh, I think he's just saying bye.
Are you saying bye?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, me and Ron have some extra fence posts. How many you need over there?
I'd say 10.
Ooh, okay. I'll take a look, see what we
Okay.
can do.
Or, whatever you feel you can spare. Sure.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
great. Very
They're
good.
4x4s, right? They're just a
Yeah.
basic 4x4. Okay.
Yep. Are they pressure treated by any chance?
Probably
No.
not.
The ones I have are.
He's got a couple.
I got a couple of pressure.
Oh, do you? Okay. Well, anything you you feel you can part with, yeah, definitely. Thank you. Okay, so one more note here. Okay. Maybe I'm taking too many notes. I was trying to be secretary clerk for a while there. But anyway, so very good. Thank you all. Should we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Marissa, you're nodding. You want a second? Okay. Let's see. All in favor, Tammy?
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Dan?
Hi.
Okay. Dan, Ron? Okay, good. Marissa?
Aye.
And Dennis?
Aye.
Aye, and I vote aye.